Salut les copains et bienvenue à l'histoire de la mode ultime. Why am I speaking French? Well, to show off, obviously, but on this episode of 20th Century Style Icons, we're heading back to 60s France to meet the Yeah Girls. This episode was suggested to me by my best friend Jono. We were discussing UFH and he said, "You've done the Yeah Girls, right?" And I hadn't. And it sort of surprises me that I haven't because I lived in Paris for 16 years, so I'm very familiar with the Yeah Girls. So I think this is going to be a fun one. So, on y va. To understand really how trailblazing and important the Yeah Girls were, we first have to look at France in the 1950s and early 60s. Now, France is a very traditional place. That's one of the reasons I loved it there. And although rock and roll, of course, had captured the imagination of the rest of the world, when it came to France, there were, of course, rock and roll artists like Johnny Hallyday, who was billed as the French Elvis, people like Eddie Mitchell and his band Les Chaussettes Noires, but rock and roll wasn't considered the kind of things that girls did. It wasn't girl music, no. To be a singer in France in the 50s, you really had to be a Piaf or a Juliette Gréco. This was what a female singer was like. It was very serious stuff. It was dramatic. These were les grandes dames. This was all in the tradition of chanson. It wasn't pop. And then came the Yeah Girls, and they changed everything. So what was Yeah? Well, you know how we in Anglophone countries talk about the swinging 60s? Well, in France, those years are referred to as les années Yeah, the Yeah years. There were Yeah boy artists, but really it was the Yeah girls who really trailblazed. There were dozens of them, but here are some of the most famous. France Gall, who won the Eurovision Song Contest with her song Poupée de cire, poupée de sang, which was penned by Serge Gainsbourg, of all people, who wrote many of her hits. Who else? Sylvie Vartan. She was married to Johnny Hallyday. They were sort of the Kim and Kanye of their era. Sheila was another Yeah girl. Chantal Goya, Christine de la Roche, Annie Philippe, Françoise Hardy was counted as a Yeah girl, although she wasn't really in the same mold as the others. The others were very sort of manufactured, very Lolita-esque, whereas Françoise Hardy really came from the folk revival tradition and was much more like, I don't know, Joan Baez or Bob Dylan in her approach, and also she wrote nearly all of her own songs. Brigitte Bardot is counted as a Yeah girl sometimes, which of course she wasn't. All of the Yeah girls were in their mid to late teens. Brigitte Bardot was 10 or 15 years older than them, and of course came from a very different tradition. However, during the 1960s, she brought out an awful lot of records, all of which were very much in the Yeah spirit. Sometimes you didn't even have to be French to be counted as a Yeah girl. Gillian Hills is a Yeah girl, but she was a British actress and singer, and she had many hits in France, the most famous being a song that I am sure Mad Men fans out there are familiar with. Zooby Zooby Zoo, Zooby Zooby Zoo. She did the first version of that. Sandy Shaw was a British star who recorded many French songs, so she is counted in their number, as is Petula Clark, who kind of brought it on herself with a single called Yeah Twist. Of course, Petula Clark isn't a Yeah girl, but she's considered part of the Yeah scene because of her career in France. Yeah extended throughout continental Europe. The Yeah girls in Spain, for example, were called the Chicas. But Yeah started in France, so I'm really going to focus on the Yeah girls. And there were many of them, like Les Jumelles, the twins, with their hit I think you might be getting a sense that there's something a little bit campy about the Yeah girls. In fact, as early as 1964, Susan Sontag recognized this because she discusses the Yeah girls and the Yeah movement in Notes on Camp, her seminal piece on what camp is. But I think in 1964, nobody really appreciated just how different the Yeah Yeah girls were and how they would absolutely change what it meant to be a girl singer in France. And yet we really have to admit that the Yeah Yeah movement was a colourful cascade of cotton candy and lollipops and hearts, a multicoloured celebration of the adolescent state. So what were these records actually like? Well, I can't play you even a second of any of them because of copyright infringement. Suffice to say that this was bubblegum pop, but really well done. The Yeah Yeah girls had some of the best songwriters around working for them, and also they recorded French cover versions of lots of American hits. To draw an American parallel, this was the kind of music that Leslie Gore or Annette Funicello was recording at about the same time. And what did they sing about? Well, they did not sing about the grand emotions and tragedies a la Edith Piaf or Juliette Greco. No, they sang about being teenage girls. They sang about homework. They sang about school. They sang about boys. It was fun and it was fluffy. And it was all centered on the teenage state. Even Françoise Hardy, who of course was much deeper than the other Yeah Yeah girls, sang about the teenage state. Songs like Tous les garçons et les filles, tous les garçons et les filles de mon âge se promènent dans la rue de par deux. You know, oh, all the boys and girls of my age are together. Oui, mais moi, je vais seul. Me, I walk alone. You know, it was all about this kind of teenage heartbreak, teenage angst, and homework. And yet, what made the Yeah Yeah girls sort of different to their American or British counterparts was that they walked this very narrow line between childhood and womanhood. Basically, they were the ultimate Lolitas. Although they sang about boys and about love and wore grown-up ladies' clothes, I cannot tell you how many photographs you see of the Yeah Yeah girls with their dolls, with their poupées. I could sit here all day showing you pictures of Yeah Yeah girls with their dolls. They're really straddling that line, and very deliberately. Often the promotional films that went along with their singles were set in classrooms or in schoolyards or at fun fairs, or they would be playing hopscotch while they sang about love. So there was this real and very deliberate tension between childhood and womanhood, the full Lolita package, like I said. What else did the Yeah Yeah girls do? Well, they sucked a lot of lollipops. Here's a story that many of you may know. Serge Gainsbourg wrote a song for France Gall called Les Sucettes, which is lollipops. It's a wonderful song. And France Gall, who was a teenager at the time, was singing a song that discussed a girl called Annie and how much she loves sucking lollipops, and she could suck lollipops all day and nothing makes her happier than sucking lollipops. And France Gall had no idea of the double entendre that was going on in that song, and she was absolutely furious at Serge when she found out. They did make friends in the end, but I think a lot of these Yeah Yeah girls were very unaware that they were playing the Lolita card, and yet this was the card they played, which is why you find them so often doing very childlike things like eating ice cream or cuddling puppies, things like that. And so this moment when childhood becomes womanhood is really played out in the Yeah Yeah wardrobe. A lot of baby doll dresses, like this one that France Gall wore when she won the Eurovision Song Contest, with the song Poupée de cire, Poupée de sang, Doll of Wax. You also see a lot of Yeah Yeah clothing that looks like it could be a school uniform in a way, but done with a slightly sexy and coquettish edge. And when I think of the Yeah Yeah girls, I think pink. Pink was their signature color. Hot pink, baby pink, pale pink. All of this pink, all very girly, but with that slightly womanly élan. Pink is not red. Red is dramatic, it's tragic, it's sexy, it's hot. Pink is girly and it's flirty and it's coquettish, which is why you see so much of it with the Yeah Yeah girls, even when they're not really girls, they're women in their 30s. There's Brigitte. I've got to admit she did wear pink very well, which is why she wore it so often in the 60s. She even had a pink wig, as did Gillian Hill, Zooby Zooby Zoo. Yet although they preferred La Vie en Rose when it came to their wardrobes, the whole rainbow of 60s colors was seen in the Yeah Yeah girls. Lots of baby blue, bright yellow, and sometimes all of it together. This was colorful. This was really like walking into a candy store. It was childlike, yet it was modern. It was fun. It was eye-catching. It was happy. It was teenage. And remember, although this bright palette was already very familiar on the American and British landscape, grown-up ladies in France in this era really didn't wear this kind of electric palette. It took the Yeah Yeah girls to really bring French fashion into the 60s. And that included stripes. Bold, bright, candy cane, Carnaby Street stripes were beloved by the Yeah Yeah girls. You see so many stripes. Look at this. Marie Claire, Françoise Hardy, and Sylvie Vartan present the collections in stripes. And there's France Gall on an album cover. Very, very stripy. It was so much fun. It was colourful and it was young and it was new. Yet it was all rather childlike, which of course was the overarching story of the 60s. But that childlike approach hadn't hit Paris until the Yeah Yeah girls. And it was carried through with their hairdos. Of course they had bouffant, because that was the era of the bouffant, but you see an awful lot of pigtails. Pigtails. Everybody had pigtails. Even Françoise Hardy, who was really too cool to have pigtails, had pigtails occasionally, really playing with this childlike notion. And when it came to accessories, the Yeah Yeah girls cornered the market on the novelty sunglasses. Big, colourful plastic sunglasses. You couldn't be a Yeah Yeah girl without them, and even though I don't count her as a Yeah Yeah girl, check out Brigitte's fabulous shades here. Good Lord, I want those sunglasses. Yet take all of this together, the palette, the hair, the makeup, the very fact that these girls were so young, and with their often very dyed blonde hair, with big heavy bangs, they really did start to look like those Bella dolls, so popular in France in the 1960s, and then weirdly the Bella dolls started dressing like the Yeah Yeah girls. And stranger still, this idea of being living dolls was actually played out ironically by the Yeah Yeah girls. There are many images of Yeah Yeah girls like Sylvie Vartan here and Françoise Hardy here, dressed as actual dolls. And here's France Gall posed as if she is a paper doll, which I know will get my dad very excited because my father, David Wolfe, as you may know, is a very well-known paper doll artist. Interestingly, the Yeah Yeah girls were absolutely accepted by the adult mainstream, chiefly because I think they were all bourgeois, they were all nice middle-class girls, and they weren't very threatening. In saying that, musically, at the time, they were not taken very seriously. However, fashion did sit up and take notice. There's Sylvie Vartan on the cover of Elle, France Gall on the cover of Elle, Françoise Hardy on the cover of Vogue. And even the adult mainstream press was interested in the Yeah Yeah girls. That's Sheila on the cover of Paris Match. And everybody was on the cover of a magazine called Mademoiselle Âge Tendre. Mademoiselle Tender Age. Come on, the teenage years, they are a tender age. You just have to listen to any song by Françoise Hardy to know what a difficult time it is. But they were all on the cover. And I really think I should go on eBay and get some 1960s copies of Mademoiselle Âge Tendre, if only for the hairdressing tips. Take a look at this. C'est le crinière de Sheila. Crinière is what? Mane. I think it's mane. How to get Sheila's mane. Look, there's a Chantal Goya showing you how she does her set. There's France Gall doing likewise. So you see, these girls really did have an influence on the way that other teenage girls dressed and did their hair and did their makeup. They were genuine fashion influencers, and they brought Carnaby Street and the Youthquake to France. Yet only one of them, I believe, actually went into fashion. Sylvie Vartan for a while had her own store. And unbelievably, unlike so many pop stars today who have their line, Sylvie Vartan actually spent 3 or 4 afternoons a week in her store. She designed her own clothes. She helped customers. So good for her. Yet when it comes to fashion and the Yaya girls, we have to kind of isolate Françoise Hardy. She wasn't really girly enough to do the little pink baby doll dresses. And although, of course, those of us who are in love with fashion associate her with those fabulous Paco Rabanne metallic outfits, it was really Françoise Hardy who developed this laid-back, casually cool, effortless French chic that we all know and love today. It really did start with her. So what happened to those French Yaya girls? Well, it would be easy to imagine that they disappeared, that they were a flash in the pan, girls who captured a moment in the cultural imagination of France and spoke to a particular burgeoning demographic, the boomers, but nothing could be further from the truth. All of the French Yaya girls went on to have decades-long careers in the music business. And maybe it's a French thing, but they all look so good today. France Gall recently retired, but she had a very long musical career. She really honed her voice into a beautiful kind of soulful jazz voice. Sylvie Vartan, she really did become one of those grandes dames of French entertainment. And Sheila is still singing, still performing, and still looks great. But come on, we're the UFH, and I know we all want to know what happened to the girl who cornered cool. Well, now she's the elderly lady who cornered cool. Doesn't she look fantastic? There never seemed to have been any competition between the Yaya girls. They were all really good friends with each other. Here are 3 of them, Sylvie, Françoise, and Sheila, in the early 1960s. And here they are today, the 3 of them, still great friends. There's a wonderful book that came out recently on the Yaya girls by Jean-Emmanuel Deluxe, Yaya Girls of 60s French Pop. This book will tell you loads more than I could in this little video, but I hope you enjoyed it. So in conclusion, although at the time they may have seemed very girly, very fluffy, very bubblegum, if it hadn't been for the Yaya girls, then people like Vanessa Paradis or Mylène Farmer or Elise could never have happened. The Yaya girls were the first French singers to dance as they sang. They were the first to embrace Carnaby Street style. In short, they brought the Youthquake to France. You can contact me through my website, amandahalley.com. Join our Facebook group. We always have loads of fun over there. I'm back every week with more episodes on UFH, so just click the little circle to subscribe. And until then, au revoir, à bientôt, et gros bisous.